Welcome to Exploring the Car, Drive Time Shaman. It's a rainy afternoon here in New York. Today is July 11th. Tomorrow is actually my birthday. I'll be 41 years old. But today is also, hey everybody in the chat room, welcome everybody in the chat room joining us. It's Drive Time Shaman, exploring the car. We're chilling here. It's a rainy friggin' day right now. Look at this old school Deftones. Boom, boom. So, hey, Laureen, thank you so much. I got your package. Now today, hey, Jess. Guys, we're going to do a, I feel a lot better today. I was feeling really shitty the last couple days. We're going to go live hopefully at like 10 p.m. tonight. Maybe even sooner. I want Mika to be part of the chat, so it might be sooner. It's depending on the baby, because the baby, we got a limited amount of space, so if the baby's running around, it's hard to do a live chat. Because we really do have a limited amount of space right now. We're trying to get our own place, but it's rough over here. It's expensive. We might have to move eventually, because my family can't have a shit little one-bedroom apartment where we're all on top of each other. We need like at least 2 bedrooms. So and near me, like, you have to go to like really ghetto to get something really cheap. It's pretty expensive to live around here. Mahatmas are on site, baby. But there's so much going on behind the scenes that you guys just need to know about, need to be queued up on. And that's what my Zoom chat is for. So you guys have seen a lot of changes happening lately amongst certain circles, things like that. There's a lot going on. This July is going to be a lot of changes for a lot of people. And yeah, no, I lived in the ghetto many times in my life. And even when I wasn't in the ghetto, I was a stone's thrown away. Like growing up in my parents' house, where, like, you know, there's ghettos all around the suburbs and everything. And then I lived in the Bronx for a little while. I lived in Long Beach, California for a few years. It's ghetto. I lived in the ghetto when I was in Thailand and Brazil, in many places. So I definitely know about the ghetto. I definitely have survived in many crazy places as well. And today is actually St. Benedict's Day, and July 11th. And I've talked about St. Benedict before, and I totally forgot that today was July 11th. And today, I actually went to a Catholic church this morning. It was at the place that I go, the Catholic Retreat Center. Something told me to go into they had a noon mass today. Something told me to go in there, and I didn't realize it was St. Benedict's Day in there. And I've been talking about St. Benedict for a while now. And it was St. Benedict's Day. He's the exorcist saint. He's raised the dead before. He's had all types of miracles that happen with St. Benedict. I've talked about it many times. And he is still being employed in the spiritual realms. He is still battling in these spiritual wars. And I've talked about St. Benedict before, how I've encountered St. Benedict in these spiritual realms. And it's friggin' pouring. I'm still gonna, I'll wait in the car. So I'm not gonna go outside. It's pouring out there. So let me take this jacket off then, because I'm sweating in here. I didn't even realize today was St. Benedict's Day. And I want to talk a little bit about St. Benedict as well. And you'll see the picture that I posted has nothing to do with St. Benedict in the chat room there. It's just, that was the picture that was one of the pictures that was inside the church today. when I went there, and one of the churches that I was at, the one I was at today, is one of 3 churches that are on that site. And I was looking around while the priest was talking, and yeah, well, I was saying the 16th, July 16th, something's coming in. Coincidentally, there's a partial eclipse over Jerusalem on July 16th. Oh, see, someone's saying it as soon as I was saying it in the chat room. Yeah, so there's a partial eclipse over that'll be specifically like over the Jerusalem area on July 16th. And if you guys see the information that I have been coming up with the last few weeks is groundbreaking. I mean, I saw columns of swirling light. This is Metatron. It's swirling codes of information, all possibilities. And I talked about this, how we're having another garment coming over us, another layer of our auric energy. And it's very intense because Saint Benedict is part of what's taking place in these spiritual battles. I've seen him before. Actually, he has a twin. They called her Saint Scholastica. I don't even know if the Catholics recognize her as a twin, but I know they're twins. I've seen them in the spiritual realms. I've seen them during the Ember Days fighting battles. And they're literally trying to stop earthquakes and volcanic eruptions because they had a hand in some of the turmoil that's here in the spiritual realms. Some of their spiritual powers were used for things that they weren't supposed to be used for. And I know you have millions of Christians and Catholics out there that probably wouldn't agree with me, but thank you, Laureen. But Saint Benedict's spirit, he was a born mystic, born shaman. He was born for a certain reason, and his powers were hijacked. Him and his twin sister, and they have powers over elemental forces. Saint Benedict was able to generate vibrations that could raise the dead. It's a known fact that he's raised the dead, and he actually, when he made one of his monasteries, I think it's on top of Monte Cassino in Italy. He did that on top of an ancient temple of Apollo. This is an ancient temple of the sun god that's known for resurrecting the dead. All right, Apollyon or Apollo is known to be able to resurrect the dead and have those sort of technologies, those sort of vibrations that could shock the dead. You literally speak out the vibrational energy and you call out for the person to rise. And the vibrational energy that's generated is amplified by the people that believe in this person's miracles as well, and the intentions behind everyone else, and it amplifies it, and it's able to shock people up from the dead and connect them back to their souls in certain cases. And this is really intense because your soul is in a layer, is a layer outside of you, right? It's connected to you. It's not part of your physical body. It's outside of your physical body. So when you die, when this physical body dies, there's no reason for your soul to stay with it anymore. The soul stays with it while life still clings. You know, sometimes when you're dead, life still lingers to it for a short period of time, and the soul will remain hovering with the body. Yeah, it's raining here. Yeah, it's raining. It's raining pretty bad outside. No, I have many instances where Saint Benedict raised the dead, and so many miracles. If you guys want to look into any miracles by Saint Benedict, you could find things by Pope Gregory. I think it's Pope Gregory. I think it's Saint Gregory. I think it was Saint Gregory that released miracles, books of miracles that were done by Saint Benedict. But there's one particular story that I feel like same with Apollo too. Apollo, the Temple of Apollyon is where CERN is built on top of in Switzerland as well. There was an ancient temple where they built right on top of that. And these pillars of columns of light that I saw going down the center of our world, they're going down into the 33rd parallel too, where Mount Hermon is. This is, and where I had my experience in Long Beach, California, that's the 33rd parallel as well. It goes, and I didn't know that at the time in 2002. I had no clue about the 33rd parallel then, but yeah, the 33rd is where, because Mount Hermon it's this is what Metatron is. Metatron is not an entity. It's not an angel like everybody has made it out to be. It's not some sort of angel. It's a swirling equation of all possibilities, and it's in a swirling column of light, and there's branches of tubes of columns that go out from it all over our planet. And there's one going down right to the 33rd parallel, right through Mount Hermon. And this is where the fallen angels tuck down. Now, even if angels and demons is an ultimate computer that generates things, intentions of people, and when you do certain rituals, certain thought forms or tulpas or artificial manifestations manifest. And if you constantly recharge them, they'll stay relevant in our realm and in our spiritual realms as well. So what if this Enochian magic and Draconian magic and all of this work with these sigils and the Goetia and all of this, you're actually creating these angelic type of demonic entities, and then every time you do the Goetia ritual or some sort of ritual like that, actually recharging that tulpa. You're recharging that intention. You're making it more than in the realm. I have my own way of talking about things, but basically, if you read this book, this classic, she talks about it in her own way, not with but about negative thought forms and psychic self-defense. And I would recommend anybody that's going to take my classes to eventually get this book as well. This is by Dion Fortune, and it's a classic, and it's called Psychic Self-Defense, of course. It's a classic, and if anybody is going to take my classes eventually, you'd want to probably purchase that book. There's a lot of, I would say that I don't take anything directly out of it, but if you read that book, when I first read it, I truly was doing certain things that already, that she describes in that book. And I was just started reading it again the other night for the first time. I had another copy years ago, and I finally got a new copy of it, and it blew me away again reading it. I haven't read it since the late 90s or something like that. And this truly is a classic, and I would recommend anybody. I think it was 97 when I first read it. I definitely recommend you guys get that. Also, I brought a couple other things that I wanted to share with you guys too. This is one of my most favorite authors. If you're looking for stuff about sorcery or witchcraft or occult from like the Middle Ages and stuff like that, especially for France, I would definitely check out Jules Michelet. This is one of famous books, La Sorcellerie. And there's also, of course, Satanism and Witchcraft, that talks a lot about convents and nunneries that were doing satanic sex rituals. And this, it's funny because I was watching the movie Constantine, and I don't, sometimes when I watch movies, I pay attention to stupid things. And I saw the movie Constantine because, like, there's elements of that comic book that are straight out of my life. I've pulled demons out of people just like that. And I was watching, nice, Laureen. See, I should get people to, I should be like a book recommender and get kickbacks, because I got literally like 1,000 books of ancient knowledge, and because of my experiences in life, I just have to understand them better, and I look for things in the past to match up with what I've experienced. But if you see the movie Constantine, the cab driver in the movie, that young kid, I think I forget his name now. I'm not good with I don't watch much TV and stuff like that, so I'm not good with names with actors. But the cab driver movie, um, he has certain books spread out on his dashboard. One of the books is Satanism and Witchcraft, Jules Michelet, which is a classic book on the occult and Satanism and all types of crazy rituals that were done even at convents. Um, so Saint Benedict is very, yeah, LaBeouf, that's it, Shia LaBeouf or something like that. Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Ken. Yeah, Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, it's funny that he played that part too, right? Well, it's interesting because I was even talking to my buddy Masaki. I grew up um, in the 80s, and I was a teenager in the 90s. I graduated high school 95, 96 time. And during those 90 years, in New York City, I was a musician. Like, I was already playing in bands in high school that were playing in certain bars in New York City, certain clubs. And I ended up getting a coat checking job and passing out flyers outside of a famous, it's now it was world renowned after a while because of things but it was pretty much like a fucking shithole. It was drug infested, weird sex rituals going on in there. And the place was actually a Gothic church that they converted into a nightclub, a rave. It was called the Limelight. And I worked at this club and frequented this club many times in the 90s, up until about 96, 97. Yeah, the Limelight. They made a movie about one of the promoters that worked there, Party Monster, with Macaulay Culkin. And that movie wasn't really that accurate, but it was in some aspects. There were certain nights there that were gay nights. There was a large percentage of that club that were either goth, trannies, or gay, or all three. But there was also other rooms, like they had a hip-hop room, they had the resurrection room, they had all sorts of rooms, a drum and bass room. Yeah, so I used to hang out there from like 1993, 94 was the first time I went there, probably, to 96, 97. But like there was times where I hung out outside of there too before, and I used to go to the tunnel. In fact, Peter Gation, who was the club owner, I've hung out with him. I've gotten high with him. I've talked to him before, and he was actually extradited to Canada. He used to have a patch over his eye from a hockey injury from when he was younger. He's from Canada, but he got extradited to Canada. I mean, he had all of us. We were selling ecstasy there, and we were allowed to. Certain people that work for the club were allowed to. Dude, this guy's like backing into me in front of me. Shit, he almost like just hit my car. He had to like move back. Some weird white van. Looks like straight out of Silence of the Lambs or something. But, so I used to, yeah, you know what? That club, now that I think about it, really upsets me because this guy, Michael Alec, the person that Macaulay Culkin played, him and another dude literally killed this guy I knew, Angel. Killed him, hit him with a hammer, supposedly had sex with his corpse, possibly ate part of him. And now the guy's out of jail. He did like 20 years in jail, Michael. And now he's out hanging out with little kids doing his weird pedophilia shit again. And, I know a lot of stuff about pedophilia that I've come across in certain circles that I don't talk about, but I've seen some crazy shit. Not really pedophilia, but like weird sexual activity between gay people. I witnessed it when I was in California, and it had to do with the Republican parties throwing parties. The log cabin Republicans for the Long Beach, and they had their office right next to right with the police station. They were in bed together. They were having weird sex parties, weird gay parties, and hiring like prostitutes, gay prostitutes. I know because I had a roommate that was gay and in the gay community of Long Beach, and I found out of a lot of the underbelly stuff going on out there. And me being a part of the Limelight, I saw a whole bunch of weird activity taking place. And That guy Michael is a fucking scab. He should be shot. He should not be free. He's a piece of shit. Ugh. It's disgusting seeing him like out hanging out with kids. I've seen little interviews with him and shit. And yeah, he's a scab. But tonight we're going live. I'm actually gonna be talking about Saint Benedict a little bit tonight, and what I saw when I was in the spiritual realms one time, and I saw him and his twin sister. And there's a famous story about Saint Benedict and his sister Saint Scholastica. Right before she was gonna die, he went over there. I think they would visit like once a month, and I caught on to weird sexual vibes between Saint Benedict and his twin sister Scholastica. Like they needed to be separated, especially because they had weird attractions to each other and weird energies that would generate when they were with each other. This like they were like a magnet that they needed to be apart, otherwise they would always be stuck together. Now she went and visited him. She would once a month. She would come and visit him or he would come to her convent or whatever and visit her, her monastery. And this was a little bit before she died. He came and he had to leave for the night, him to stay, that she wanted to talk until morning. And he was like, I can't stay here with you women all night. He was like pissed. So then he went to go leave. And then all of a sudden the worst torrential downpour and rain came. And he looked at his sister like, what did you do? And she said, well, I tried to beg you to stay, but you wouldn't. So I begged God, and God helped. So she was able to affect the elements, nature back then. It's a very well-known story. And, you know, St. Benedict said when his sister died, he actually looked into the sky from where he was, and he saw her soul ascending to heaven like a white dove. It transformed into a white dove, and he saw this. And this is very interesting because white dove is known in shamanism and sorcery. In fact, there was another saint that Saint Benedict talks about where he literally saw another saint when he died get put into a fireball and left this atmosphere. So we're going to be talking about stuff tonight. We're even going to view some things. Me at patreon.com/themysticalspiral. I might even go live for a little while when we get back. We'll see what's up with the baby on from the computer. See what's up with Mika. But guys, don't miss out. Information coming your way. Thank you always. You can always donate to my PayPal. You can always go to my website. I have tensor tools. I have crystals. I have wands. Everything you could possibly need. Also, anybody who wants to purchase a tensor tool or a crystal will receive half off a reading for a limited time. Don't miss out. For $2 a month, you could join for the lowest platform of my Patreon and join our team. And in fact, if you join my Patreon, you get $20 off my recent classes that are coming up. It's $99 for non-patrons and $79 for patrons. I've only got a few people that have subscribed for my class so far. So a lot of people said they wanted to do it, but I've only had a few people purchase their slot. So I'm extending it a few days until to see if anybody else is going to join. If not, then you missed out on the first session. I will be recording it. So people, you won't miss it if you can't join the class. I do recommend bringing a notebook and things like that because a lot of times the energy won't work. Psychic experiences a lot of time will be hurt by this sort of dirty technology we're talking through. So it's definitely something that you have to work with on your own after the class. I possibly might be in October, Texas, in Texas in October with Robert Phoenix. It's not set in stone yet because I'm not sure where I'm going to be in October. But if my situation calls for it, you know, I might have to move out of New York depending on my situation. But I do things in person. You know, it's not just over the phone. It's just that certain people aren't around me. But if you're anywhere near my area, I do clearings. I do psychic readings in person, all sorts of things. So don't miss out. Also, if you're in the Massachusetts area, your Salem area, somewhere like that, go to my family, my Strega family, Lori Bruno. Check her out. at the store Magica. Also check out akaida.com, my buddy Misaki. And wearefearless.com. My Frankie Fearless, that's my brother. Even though Frankie's not on TFR anymore, we're still, me and him are tight. We're going to be working together still. I will be continuing my show on TFR. And, you know, there's just people got to expand and move on sometimes from certain things. But I need to talk to you guys tonight for sure. And the Benedict deal we're going to be talking about as well, because tonight is the St. Benedict's Day, and you can see it's raining all around us. And I think St. Benedict and his sister are actually in the spiritual realms trying to stop this earthquakes and volcanic activity that's happening, because the Catholic Church took part in it. And super volcanoes are formed from the evil of men. Remember that, and spiral out.